is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton, and glad to be with you here on this Friday edition of the show as we are getting ready for the weekend ahead with college football championship weekend on the horizon. And it's always fun when you're talking about college football championships. And we're going to do just that today. All of them. But before we do that, Mo, how are you?
I was okay until I started going through our picks from last week.
Oh, didn't go so well, huh?
It's not pretty.
It's been better.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's been better.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the system did last week, but
I'm sure how I did last week, and it wasn't very good.
The system hasn't been great recently.
Yeah, it's been trending downward for sure.
Let's see, 2-3, 2-4, 5, 6, 7, 3-7.
The system was 3-7.
The system was 3-7.
Okay.
Which means the general public was 7-3. I may just have to start flipping.
Yeah.
There's
maybe
more
the
information
played out. Yeah.
There's more information available. After about week 6, you just flip to the other side. and you start doing better. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah. Shoot.
Who knows? But we'll pick. I think there's 10 games this week on the pick 'em. I'm not entirely sure how many exactly there are, but we will pick some games. We will do all kinds of great things today, including talk to Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate about the LSU Tigers and whether or not they can spoil Tennessee's opportunity at a New Year's Six game. Yeah. That would be unfortunate, but it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we'll get into that. We'll get into the Titans a little bit. We will get into college football playoffs expansion. Looks like they're going to be expanding a little bit earlier than initially expected, Mo, so we can talk about that a little bit and so much more right here. But before we do any of that, we got plenty to get to on today's rundown, so let's get right into it.
Here's the rundown.
Here we go.
The Friday Rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates. Voice of the Blue Raiders also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or through his website at choosechip.net. Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Football action yesterday. It was Baylor in a controversial, at best, Division II 3A championship, 38-34 over Montgomery Bell Academy. Lipscomb Academy shut out CPA 42-0, and Friendship Christian holds on to defeat Nashville Christian 34-27. And girls basketball action was Murfreesboro Central Magnet 62-60 over Community. Ezo Harding down to Republic 78-13, while Cheatham County got a 71-60 win over Liberty Creek. It was John Overton 43, McGavock 31, Stewart's Creek a 60-43 win over Middle Tennessee Christian. Page did not win 744-47. That was probably just 74-47. I think that would probably be a state record if it was 744. But
I think that would have blown up somebody's scorebook.
You have carpal tunnel tomorrow. Harpeth Hall 58-42 winners over Summit, and Zion Christian fell to Franklin Classical 39-25.
In boys basketball action on Thursday night, Murfreesboro Central with a 61-50 win over Community. Hillwood edged Cane Ridge 61-58. Man, Things change when you don't have an SEC starter in your lineup. Cheatham County with a 55-45 win over Liberty Creek. Marshall County defeated Lighthouse Christian of Antioch 79-35. McGavock with a 66-65 win over Overton. Stewart's Creek 53, Middle Tennessee Christian 38. Brentwood with a 65-51 win over Page. Upperman defeated Tennessee Heat 50-43. Creekwood 65, West Creek 53, and Franklin Classical 60, Zion Christian 37. In women's basketball action yesterday, as we told you on yesterday's show, Middle Tennessee State with an 83-45 Education Day win over Tennessee Tech. I guess the Lady Eagles got schooled. East Tennessee State with a 44-31 win over Vanderbilt. Gardner Webb 52, Austin P 58. Cumberland 63, Wilberforce 55, Trevecca with a 79-77 win over Northwood, and Thomas More 87, UT Southern 48.
Yeah, that's number one in the country, women's Thomas More. Number one in the country, men's Thomas More. That's right. They have both the men's and women's number one teams in the NAIA coaches poll, defeating UT Southern and men's 72-63. Belmont got a win over Valparaiso 76-64. Cumberland 68-58 over Wilberforce, and Northwood a 59-38 winner over Trevecca. And in NHL action, the Preds with an incredible finish to get a 4-3 overtime win over the New Jersey Devils, being down 3-2 all the way until 8 seconds left in the third period, getting the game tire, and then the game winner from Roman Yossi in OT. How about that?
There you go. Hey, a little suspense. Blue Cross Bowl action today. Alcoa with a 45-26 win over East Nashville in the early game. The 2 o'clock game in 1A between McKenzie and Clay County getting ready to kick off here in seconds. At 6 o'clock Central Time, Knoxville West takes on Page in the Class 5A championship. Tomorrow in Class 4A, Anderson County and Pearl Cone are at 10 o'clock. In Class 2A, Tyner Academy and Decatur County Riverside is at 2 o'clock. And in the 6 o'clock Class 6A finale, Oakland will meet Beach. Basketball, doubleheader action tonight. Brentwood Academy is at Baylor. I'm betting that's a 5 o'clock Central Time start. Oakland at Beach? Are you serious?
Yeah, I promise you, the first time I saw that, I was like, I'm sorry, what? But that's scheduled. I can't imagine they're playing, but they might be. It's on the schedule.
It's on the schedule.
How
Oakland at Beach in basketball at 6 o'clock tonight. Okay. Overton at Cane Ridge at 6, also at 6. Yeah. Smyrna at Centennial at 6. All of these are 6 o'clock tip-offs. All of these are doubleheaders again. Joe Burns at Cheatham County. Dixon County at Clarksville. Franklin at Columbia Central. Eagleville at Community. Lead Academy at Christ Presbyterian Academy. And Sycamore High School at Davidson Academy.
East Hickman hosts Fairview. Giles County is at home against Lincoln County. Battleground Academy goes to Grace Franklin's. East Robertson's at Greenbrier. Mount Juliet goes to Hendersonville, and Hillsborough hosting Green Hill. Hillwood is at home against East Nashville. Maybe. Maplewood's I guess they probably have time to get back if they've got any dual athletes. Maplewood's at Hunters Lane. Independence at home against Rockville. Clarksville Northeast at Kenwood, and Summit goes to Lebanon. Livingston Academy at home against Creekwood.
Collinwood is at Loretto. Clincliff is at Marshall County. Antioch is at McGavock. Columbia Academy plays at Middle Tennessee Christian. Montgomery Central hosts Houston County. Christian Community is at Mount Juliet Christian. Hume Falk goes to Nashville Christian. Spring Hill plays at Nolensville. Page hosts Brentwood. Didn't they just play last night? Page and Brentwood just played last night. I'm betting this Page game isn't being played because they've got other stuff going on.
They probably rescheduled it for last night and didn't change the schedule.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah, Friendship Christian is at Pope Prep. Blackman is at Ravenwood. Mount Pleasant is at Richland. Lawrence County goes south of the border, taking on Rogers of Alabama, the Parates, as Chris likes to say. And Perry County is at Santa Fe.
Shelbyville's at Siegel. St. George's is at St. Cecilia Academy. That's a 5:30 tip. Springfield at Station Camp at 6. The rest of these at 6. Summertown hosting Wayne County. Clarksville Academy goes to Warren Central Kentucky. DeKalb County is at Watertown West Creek at home against Stewart's County. Westmoreland at home against Northwest. Harpeth goes to White House. DCA's at White House Heritage. Martin Luther King goes to Whites Creek. Wilson Central at home against Gallatin. And FC Boyd is at Laverne.
In a girls-only game this evening, Girls Preparatory School of Chattanooga is at Father Ryan. That's a 5:30 tip Central Time. Saturday double headers. Lipscomb Academy is at Kenwood at 1. Also at 1 o'clock, Watertown is at Mount Juliet Christian. Pope Prep is at University School of Jackson at 2. 6 o'clock tips. Columbia Academy at Franklin Christian. Summertown at Hickman County. Zion Christian at Lighthouse of Antioch. And Columbia Central is at Riverdale. Boys only, 4 o'clock starts. Montgomery Bell Academy goes to Marshall County, Kentucky, and Brentwood Academy is at McCallie. Don't know if that's a 4 o'clock or a 3 o'clock, so check your local list.
Yeah. Women's basketball in college action tomorrow. UT Southern's at Wilberforce at noon. Thomas More hosting Cumberland also at noon. Trevecca's at Hillsdale at noon, and Lipscomb is at Tennessee State. That's a 5:30 tip on ESPN Plus. And junior college action, it's Vol State at Roane State. That is a 1 p.m. tip Central Time. Chattanooga State is at Columbia State. I think it's a 5:30 Central tip. It's gonna follow the men's game. So whatever time the men get finished, the women will start. On Sunday, UT Martin is at Vanderbilt 11 a.m. SEC Network Plus. Number 9 Virginia Tech at Tennessee at noon on ESPN2. Georgia Tech's at Belmont at 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Fisk goes down to Florence to take on North Alabama at 2. And number 18 Louisville is at Middle Tennessee State. That's 4 p.m. tip on ESPN Plus.
Okay, yeah. Men's basketball action on Saturday. UT Southern is at Wilberforce. That's a 2 o'clock tip. Cumberland is at top-ranked Thomas More at 2 o'clock as well. Also, Trevecca plays at Hillsdale in Michigan at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Marable is at MTSU. Tennessee State plays at Austin Peay. That was an Ohio Valley Conference game, but it's not anymore. 3 o'clock on ESPN Plus, and at 4 on the SEC Network Plus, Wofford is at Vanderbilt. Junior college basketball action. Ball State is at Roane State at 3 o'clock. Somebody's time. Chattanooga State is at Columbia State at 4 at the Webb.
I would just like to say that I have never been more of a Middle Tennessee State fan than I will be at 2 p.m. on Saturday at the Glass House.
Wow.
Go Blue Raiders.
With this one. Yeah.
NHL action tonight. Preds are at the Islanders. It's a 6:30 puck drop on Hulu. NBA action this weekend tonight. 76ers are at Memphis. 7 p.m. tip on Valley Sports Southeast. And Sunday, the Grizz head up to Motor City to take on the Detroit Pistons. That's a 5 p.m. tip also on Valley. And this Sunday, the Titans will be at the Philadelphia Eagles at noon, and that will be on Fox. And that is going to do it for your rundown. We don't have a whole lot of time, Mo, for a top story today, but I do have one I wanted to mention. I don't know if you had filled in that, but I do believe we should mention that Alex Anthopoulos earlier today was announced as the wow, that was quick. Executive of the Year for Major League Baseball.
I don't know what was quick.
The McKenzie scored on the first play from scrimmage.
Well, you talk about being delayed, but yeah, okay.
I just looked up and saw him in the end zone. I was like, oh, okay.
Man, I don't dig Clay County's jerseys.
No, I was gonna wait to mention it, but no. Vegas gold numbers on white jerseys should be outlined.
I mean, you got to outline it, and I don't know why you wouldn't outline it in black. But yeah, getting back to your top story, I think that was as anticlimactic as there is.
Yeah. So
and that's almost his in perpetuity for now.
It should be. It absolutely should be. So congrats to Double A. That's why I wore my Atlanta Braves cap today. So
there you go. Okay. You need 2 A's on your cap.
There, I do. I need one extra one over here. This one does not have the mullet. It is a Braves cap.
Man, geez.
I want that crimson Atlanta Braves cap that you were showing the other day.
That would just throw
Really
everybody
screw 'em
into a
all up.
tizzy. Yep.
But, all right, well, that's our top story for the day. We're going to take a break because Scott Rabelais is standing by waiting to join us. We're going to talk SEC Championship and LSU right after this. So stick around. Main Street Sports today is presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, and we will be right back after these short messages. So stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton as we get you ready for college football coming up this weekend. It is championship weekend across the country, and boy, are we excited. Everybody's excited about championship weekend because we finally get to find out who the best teams are in some of the conferences. I don't think there are a couple of championship games that will have a participant who's in the top 3 of the best teams in the conference. But hey, congrats to Purdue anyway. That being said, we are joined now by Scott. I'm sorry, Mo.
No, I was just saying, leave Purdue alone. They beat who they're supposed to beat. That's all they could do, right?
And got a little help when needed. Thank you, Nebraska, right? Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate joins us now. And Scott, you there?
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
We can.
Okay, I'm over here by the Home Depot backyard, and by behind me is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Folks getting ready for the big game tomorrow between LSU and Georgia.
Folks are getting ready for the big game. You're getting ready for your big appearance with I just went blank on him. Paul Feinbaum.
Well, yeah, I'm dressed up for him, not for y'all. Nice of your show is, but I got to do something with one of our people later. I'm gonna tell him the same thing. But yeah, I'm out here. I got some TV people from Baton Rouge to my right. I am pushing the envelope of my technical expertise. Okay, being able to make this work, but I think we're gonna pull it off.
All right. Well, hey, we were really excited about LSU Georgia in this SEC championship until, about a week or so ago. Scott, what happened Saturday night?
You know, you don't want to pull out the cliche card and say they just weren't ready to play, but it clearly was something that I think they thought they could just roll the ball out there and they're going to win. I mean, Texas A&M is coming off a very unimpressive win over UMass, 20-3. It was one of the worst teams in all of FBS. They hadn't played well all year, but they got a little healthier. They got a couple of players back, namely Devin Achane, who went off. He was impressive. 38 carries for like 215 yards. The quarterback made some key throws. They converted 10 of 15 third downs. And they just pushed LSU off the ball, and it's been very atypical of what we've seen from LSU, even against some of the better teams on the schedule like Alabama and Tennessee and Ole Miss. So they just this team was bound to throw in a clunker now and then. They are far from even though they're in the championship game, they're far from a finished product. And I think Brian Kelly has acknowledged that as much as anyone. And fortunately for their sake, it did not keep them out of the SEC championship game, but obviously it knocked them out of college football playoff contention. So, and as you said, took a little luster off this game. But a lesson learned, maybe for the younger players going forward, that no weeks off in the SEC, even against a team that's in last place, is embarrassing for LSU, but at the same time, not completely unexpected.
And it's interesting, Scott, because you just made two comments that kind of resonated with me. It feels like just about everybody in the SEC has had a clunker at some point over the course of this season. I mean, you go to UT South Carolina a couple of weeks ago, it just seems like everybody has had a bad game in them, and it seems to have happened at the worst possible time.
Yeah, I mean, and you thought for LSU, the Tennessee game back in October would have knocked them out, 40-13 loss. But they recovered from that, won 5 in a row, including the big win over Alabama, thrust them into contention as, a chance to make the playoff as if they were to win this game, as the first 2-loss team to make a college football playoff semifinal. And but they just haven't been able to put it all together in every single game of the season. Not a mature program like Georgia is. Georgia has won 30 of their last 31 games overall. This is a mature program where they expect to win, and they know they're going to win. They're going to win, and they know they're going to win. And so it's LSU is not back there yet, where they were 3 years ago when they were in this game against Georgia with Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and those guys. But they are ahead of the curve. Certainly when we were here in Atlanta for media days back in July, no one picked LSU. Not one person picked LSU to win the division. They were picked 5th overall. And so for them to get here for the championship game, even though it's probably going to end up being a loss tomorrow, is quite an achievement.
And you mentioned that loss kind of took some of the luster off this SEC matchup with Georgia. It would seem like at this point, LSU's best chance is for Georgia to come into this game like LSU went into last week's game.
Yes, I would agree with that. And we've seen that from Georgia a couple of times this year. They had the really close win against Missouri. They had the game against Kentucky that was a 16-6 win, but Kentucky, really had some chances in the red zone that they let slip away. And, I think a lot of people expect Georgia's going to come in here, try to minimize the mistakes. They're not seen as explosive a team as Tennessee, but just relentless. They're just relentless. And they get up on LSU, they're not going to do stuff that's going to put them in a bind or lead to a lot of mistakes. LSU may be forced to make more chances. I saw Gary Danielson from CBS said they're going to have to go deep. They're going to have to go over the top, and LSU has not been a team that has gone really for the long ball a lot this season, but they might have to change that for this one. So it's Georgia's not infallible, but obviously they've shown they have the tools to do just enough to win and get by. And of course, if they do, they're still going to be the number 1 seed in the playoff going forward.
Scott Rabelais, columnist for the Baton Rouge Advocate, here with us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Scott, when you look at where this team started versus where they are today, have you been surprised by the strides that the team had made to get to this point? I mean, most of us didn't think that Florida State team was going to be very good. They turned out to be all right as well.
Yeah.
So, it really seems like this has been a great first year under Brian Kelly, as good as you could have expected.
No doubt. I think so. I think 9-3. I went back. I write for Athlon Sports, for their preseason magazine, and I went back and saw what I wrote, and it said 9-3 was the ceiling for this team. And so I think 10-2 was in their grasp. Obviously, they could have beaten A&M. They could have beaten Florida State, certainly, but realistically, with all the shortcomings they had on this team, with all the guys who put in. Remember, they played in January. They played in the Texas Bowl against Kansas State. They had 39 scholarship players. Now, a few more came back who opted not to play in the bowl game, but they had to fill in with a lot of recruits, true freshmen who are playing key roles now, and a lot of guys from the transfer portal like Jaden Daniels, and really rebuild a huge chunk of this roster. So, I thought after the Florida State, I thought they'd go 8-4 probably, ceiling of 9-3, and when they lost to Florida State, I thought 7-5 or 6-6 might be more likely. But they got their act together, and they really hit their stride in the middle of the season after the Tennessee loss. When one of the players this week said that was kind of a point where they, strangely enough, started to believe in themselves or know what they had to do, and trust the process that Brian Kelly wanted them to follow. And then they went on the road and beat Florida. Then they beat Ole Miss. Then took a week off and they beat Alabama. And that was the heart of their season. And just beating Alabama, as you can imagine, as I'm sure a lot of Tennessee fans can imagine, just beating Alabama probably would have been enough to satisfy a lot of LSU fans this year. But this is what we call in Louisiana lagniappe. This is a little something extra to make it to the SEC championship game and to win the SEC West, and when no one expected it. This is the most improbable trip to the SEC championship game for LSU, probably since 2001, when they played and beat Tennessee in somewhat similar circumstances to this game.
You really didn't have to mention it, though.
Oh man, it reminds me of that. I was there for that one, and no one thought they'd win that either. LSU was only a 7. I looked it up. They were only a 7-point underdog that day. Tomorrow they're a 17.5-point underdog, third biggest point spread in SEC championship game history. So that's kind of daunting for LSU as well.
Matt Mock ain't walking through that door, though, is he? I hope
no.
Well, for Georgia's sake, I hope not. But for you, for LSU, absolutely, you wouldn't mind seeing a guy like that pull up. But when you look at tomorrow, I thought, you go back over the last few weeks, Georgia hasn't exactly been dominant. So that has to at least bode well for LSU and give them some cause for hope.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that does. Now a couple of times this year they've just blown people's doors off, like Oregon, and you really controlled the Tennessee game. They've had some games where they've been really like, ooh, it's like scary good, but they also had times they haven't been, and they don't. Like I said, they're not. I don't think that they're not as explosive a team to me as Tennessee was. Where it's like, well, Tennessee might come out and bury you. Like, they might score 3 touchdowns on you, boom, 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 and you're really in trouble. And that's what happened, in the game in Baton Rouge. I don't expect that from Georgia, but also don't expect that they're going to feel like they have to, throw a bunch of passes into tight coverages and do a bunch of crazy things. That they can. Yeah, that they're probably thinking they can. It's like the for lack of a better term, the schoolyard bully with the little kid, keeping him at arm's length, just kind of holding him off while he swings at air. I think that's probably what they're thinking they're going to try to do to LSU tomorrow.
Mo?
Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate with us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Scott, you mentioned Jaden Daniels on a couple of occasions. He went out of that A&M game last week with an ankle. I guess reports are that he is expected to play tomorrow, so feeling a little bit better about that situation.
Yeah, you're still a little. We don't see practice during the season with Brian Kelly, so it's hard to really know. He said he's looked better this week and will play. How effective will he be? Being able to run is a big part of his game. He's rushed. Before you take sacks away, which obviously you have to, but I'm just saying, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards this season. He's LSU's leading rusher, and they need that dual threat that's been the bread and butter of when LSU's offense has really clicked. They really needed that. And so, he was in a walking boot early in the week. Kelly told us, back on Monday, and has had to have a lot of treatment. That said, he's been a pretty plucky player. There's a couple of other games this year where he went out with some injuries and came back the next game. He went out. He was hurt twice against Texas A&M, and even after the ankle injury, where he hurt himself on the 2-point try, he still played the last few minutes of the game. Of course, those are the kind of things that they might really hurt more the next day, right? So I'm sure he's been dealing with a lot of that. But they got him. They say they have him. How effective he is, we'll have to see. Josh Williams is supposed to play. He's missed the last couple of games, hurt his knee against Arkansas, but he's supposed to play. He can run for the tough yards. He can catch a pass out of the backfield. He can block, which they're going to need that. And then Jarek Bernard-Converse, one of their starting cornerbacks, is also supposed to return, who missed the Texas A&M game. And that was a big blow to LSU's pass defense last week, trying to stop Muhammad and that Texas A&M passing attack. So having those guys back, that is a big help. It still doesn't mean LSU's not a big underdog, but they're still a big underdog, but it definitely is going to help the cause if they can play. But they really need, they desperately need Jaden Daniels as close to 100% as they can have him in this game for sure.
There you go. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic football game. It's the SEC championship game. It's always fantastic. And Scott, we appreciate you taking some time with us today to talk a little bit about it. We look forward to reading what you've got to say and watching this one at 2:30 on CBS tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. Scott, thanks.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being with you guys again. And I'm just excited that I made it through this little segment here with me on my phone with my headphones outside. This is fantastic.
It doesn't sound bad. Absolutely sounds
Okay.
really, really good. So thank you, and we appreciate you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to take a short break here, Mo, and when we come back, we're going to get into the Titans. How about that? Let's get into the Titans a little bit, and we'll talk a little Titans Eagles right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. So you guys stick around. This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama. So the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, we talk a little Titans now. They head up to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And it appears, based on what, at least what I've seen today, it appears they're going to have most of their allotted folks back, but the defense could still be struggling.
Well, I mean, again, they've been kind of hit or miss in the secondary, and Jalen Hurts has been awfully effective over the course of this season. And A.J. Brown is going to be motivated coming into this matchup, so it could be a struggle on the back end, unless they're able to get 2 Hurts up front, which is where Bud Dupree and Danico Autry and some of those other guys who have been a little banged up, Jeff Simmons, come into play. So
Autry will not.
Okay.
But Well, it looks like Elijah Molden also out, but could get Ola Adani back, who was activated into his return window this week and practiced. So there's that, and then it looks like Randy Bullock could also be back.
That could be a plus.
But you get Ben Jones, which is really the most important thing, I think.
He solidifies that offensive front, and that's an offensive front that has struggled here of late, just not being able to create lanes and space for Derrick Henry, who you've really built your offense around. So when you build around the running game, you kind of build around the offensive front. And so, yeah, like you said, getting Ben Jones back, if he is back, is going to be big.
He is definitely he's activated. He's going to play.
Well, that's big then.
So and what it essentially means is that you don't have to worry about playing unless something else happens. You don't have to worry about your left guard position, because your left guard that moved to center is now back, and means you're not having to I don't know the word to use here. You're not having to
You're not weakening yourself at two different positions.
There you go.
Because when you move your left guard to center, then you're not as strong as you were at center, and you're not as strong as you were at left guard. So you've weakened two spots. You get Ben Jones back, your left guard can go back to being your left guard, and hopefully that was your best alignment of those five positions. So, hopefully again that gives Derrick Henry a little bit more room to be Derrick Henry.
Well, one thing that I had noticed is before Ben Jones went out with the concussion, the Titans had started running to the right side quite a bit more. Well, when he went out, you kind of had to run right, because, the entire left side of your line was, second and third string guys.
Patchwork.
And it felt like, defenses were loading up on the right side and blitzing off the left side where they knew they could get into the backfield quickly. And that's where, that's where Derrick Henry was struggling to get to the line of scrimmage, even without getting hit.
Yeah, especially this last week. So they were run blitzing quite a bit and getting there. And as we mentioned earlier in the week, before Henry was able to get a couple of steps upfield, he was getting cut down. So hopefully this addresses that.
Now, defensively, when the defensive backfield, obviously you gotta hope that you're able to, to get some pressure, like you said, on Jalen Hurts. But Hurts can make you pay in a lot of different ways. He's got the ability to, to make you miss in the backfield. So you got to be careful there as well. Now, that being said, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, those are two really good receivers. You got to find a way to lock up, and I'm not sure that the cornerback situation is in a good enough position to do that.
Oh, right. Yeah. And, like you said, Hurts can move around back there. The thing about Hurts is I don't know that he necessarily looks to run. I think he's moving around to pass. He can run the ball, but I think he's more moving around to still try to get the ball upfield. But you still got to keep him contained with your rush lanes. But again, Smith and Brown pose a couple of problems for a inconsistent at best defensive secondary.
That I think is where I'm most concerned. If I'm a Titans fan, I feel like, this is a really good Eagles team. They were undefeated for much of the beginning of the season, but, your offense hasn't been really good if you're the Titans. You know, you're just trying to find a way to just get it done. Now, they've been able to do that more times than not this year. But if you lose this one and all of a sudden, you know, things aren't looking so great because you're then 0-2 against the NFC East for starters. And you went from 7
Hold up. You're not 0-2 because you beat the Commanders.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they even played the Commanders. Yeah. So 1-2 with the Cowboys coming up later. But even still, you went from 7-3 to 7-5.
Right. Well, I mean, you had won 7 of 8, and then all of a sudden you've lost, you know, back-to-back games there. And you know, I don't know that anybody really expected, with all of the injuries that this team has dealt with, again, to be, 7-3 necessarily. But now that you're here, you don't just get to play your way back closer to 500 and everybody be cool with it. So this is a big game here, primarily because they didn't beat Cincinnati this past weekend.
Right. Cincinnati, the Cincinnati loss is devastating, just because that's a game you really felt like you needed to win mentally, especially after losing to the Chiefs the way you lost to the Chiefs.
Right.
It's like, my goodness, what do we have to do? Well, for one thing, you got to run block, and hopefully they'll be able to do it this week. That's I'm gonna look up something because I want to make sure. Okay, I don't know what the Eagles, defense looks like as far as who's on it. I couldn't tell you.
Well, other than Reed Blankenship.
Well, he plays safety, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I know they've got Fletcher Cox. He's the only name that I really know of these, because I don't watch the NFL a whole lot. But this is a team that you feel like you ought to be able to score against and run the football. So get it done, Todd Downing. Figure it out. Whatever you have to do. I mean, this is a team that gives up nearly 5 yards a game, or 5 yards a carry, 120 yards a game. Run the football.
Well, you wish it was that simple. And maybe it will be with Ben Jones back. But not necessarily.
That's it. Not necessarily. You got to. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's got to be efficient. He's got to make plays. And here's the thing: is you've got to have a good day out of Treylon Burks, who has been good the last 2 times out, right? So you got to have that. And if you can get a decent game out of Burks and out of Noah Westbrook-Akine and of course Robert Woods, and stop throwing the ball to Jeff Swaim.
Man.
Hey, here's an idea. Don't do that.
Maybe those throws that are going to Jeff Swaim should go to Chig.
Chig.
Yeah, thank you. Should go to Chig instead.
That guy, every time he catches it, it's a big play, and we throw it to him twice a game. It doesn't matter where you throw it. It doesn't matter if you throw it to him 25 yards downfield or if you throw it to him, 1 yard downfield.
Yeah.
He's going to take it, and it's going to be a big play. I don't really know.
You've coached a lot less football than Todd Downing. And yet
here we are.
Yeah.
Jeff Swaim instead of Chig Okonkwo. So I don't feel good about this one. if I were picking this, I would certainly not pick the Titans.
Well, understandably.
So, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see the Clay County 2-point conversion attempt?
Mm-hmm.
How about that? A swinging gate that didn't throw it to the gate, just took the snap, and it was one of those Indianapolis Colts fake punts that actually worked.
Well, I don't know. If you've not seen that, I don't know how you get ready for it. Now, I don't know if that's something that Clay County's been doing all year that McKenzie had a chance to see, or if that was something that former Livingston Academy coach Bruce Lamb pulled out just for this, or what the situation was. But it's that's not an easy one to adjust to on the fly, nor was that kickoff return by McKenzie. But anyway.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, and I asked this question. I don't know if you've watched all of the Blue Cross Bowl games thus far. I've watched most of them. What's the record for blocked kicks in a Blue Cross Bowl weekend? Because we got to be getting close.
Well, East had a couple. NBA had one block, didn't they?
Right. There were two in the Nashville Christian game.
Mm-hmm. I
think there's been 5. And we've only played 5 games.
I don't think there was any in the excuse me, in the CPA Lipscomb
None
game.
in the CPA Lipscomb game. But I know there were 2 in the Friendship Christian Nashville Christian game, because we talked about it on the show.
And two this morning.
2 this morning,
so, yeah,
and then
5.
1 from NBA last night to make it 38-34 instead of 38-35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Offense, defense, and special teams, man. And a lot of folks.
I have no idea. I'm watching a commercial right now. But,
yeah, my fault. We're a little off.
But that was so wild. I was like, "What? How many block kicks can you have in one weekend? Like, are you just faster? Are the lines just not as far away? What the heck is going on? Like, I'm so confused.
That's certainly something to keep an eye on the rest of the weekend.
It very well could be. Very well could be. Now, let's take a break here, Mo. When we come back, we want to talk about college football playoff expansion. The Rose Bowl has given its blessing, because that's what we needed, apparently. So we will take a break and come back, and when we do, we will talk expansion right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bar and Joint.
This holiday season, the largest lantern event in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. After sunset, come see more than 1,000 Chinese lanterns. All new designs including mythical beasts, a fantastical North Pole village, even a dragon soaring over your head. Welcome back to Zoo Illumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao coming to you here, and joined by the co-host, Maurice Patton, on this Friday edition as the Blue Cross Bowl, my goodness, has been ongoing. State championship games here in Tennessee as well as across most of the country. I know Alabama's have been taking place as well this
I think
weekend.
Georgia's in the semifinals.
Okay. Down at Jordan-Hare for Alabama. They held their flag championship on Wednesday ahead of the 7A game. And that's always fun. You know.
So they don't play flag in the fall in the spring?
Correct. They play flag.
They play flag in the fall? When do they play?
When? Like what days?
Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know. Because I haven't been down there since then. So since they started playing. Yeah. So I do not know the answer to that. But yeah, it's gotta love championship weekend. And
I'm intrigued by them playing flag in the fall because, a lot of the flag teams that we saw this past year in Williamson County, obviously that was the only place they were playing it, but they had a lot of tackle football coaches that were coaching.
Right, which probably helps a little.
But it would pretty much preclude you from playing.
Yeah, from coaching fall. If you were, you couldn't do that. So
yeah. And also I think one of the draws for them playing in the spring was to allow some of those fall sports, those volleyball, those girls soccer kids to play. So interesting dynamic.
Well, I don't. Girls and boys soccer both play in the spring.
In Alabama?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Which
see, that goes back to the conversation we were having yesterday about covering high school sports in another state. That would just blow my mind.
It's wild out there. There's no question. I mean, it's very difficult to understand the nuances of a different state. Trust me, I'm still learning.
Good luck.
Yeah. Speaking of nuances and new stuff, we're about to start learning the college football playoff options, as it looks like a 12-team playoff is going to be sooner rather than later. We got one more year of a 4-team playoff, and then we'll go to 12. If we had 12 this year, this is what it would look like, Mo.
I don't understand what the opposition to 12 is. I don't understand what the opposition to more is. I mean,
it's simply, it's going to, quote, devalue the regular season, which to me is a bad, that argument doesn't hold water to me.
I just don't think that's accurate.
A lot of folks saying, well, Ohio State and Michigan wouldn't have mattered this week. Well, it would have mattered because there's still a bye to be had. But it also, maybe Ohio State and Michigan don't have as big.
You're just not going to tell me that Michigan, Ohio State doesn't matter.
Well, there's that. But, maybe it doesn't. But, obviously, Oregon State has massive implications rather than just the Civil War being the Civil War and Oregon trying to make the Pac-12 championship game. I mean, you're talking about, you make the playoffs with a win, you're out with a loss. Well,
right.
And now Utah sits at 11
instead of Oregon.
Instead of Oregon being at, 8 or higher. To me, I think that it's highly likely that you would see some manipulation of the poll for.
Well, yeah, you just see it at 10, 11, 12 rather than at 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're really looking at this, there's not a game on here that I wouldn't want to see.
I don't know. I will be honest with you. I would pretty much concede that 5-12 game to Ohio State. And I
Why?
wouldn't necessarily mind seeing Tulane go at it, but I don't perceive that to be a game that a winnable game for Tulane necessarily. But I mean, just because I don't perceive it that way doesn't mean that no one else does. And that doesn't mean that Tulane doesn't deserve the opportunity to play that game.
Well, Tulane did beat Kansas State this year, who's ranked 10th. You know, a team that probably would have beaten TCU had it not lost 2 quarterbacks in the middle of the game. I think Tulane is Tulane. I don't know how good Ohio State is. I think they're beatable from every team in this entire playoff except for Penn State.
The only team that they beat.
The only team they beat. But Penn State Clemson would be hilarious because I don't think either of them are very good. And so like watching two teams that are just meh play for a chance to get trounced by Georgia would be fun.
I would still like to see Clemson in Tennessee's path somewhere.
I think that's what you would see. I think it's more likely that Clemson would be 10 and Kansas State would be 9. See, Kansas State's out of this thing. If they lose to TCU, they're out of the playoff completely. Utah loses to USC, they're out of the playoff completely. Now you've got teams 12, 13, 14. Washington is out there waiting. You got teams who can get in just by virtue of these teams losing.
Somebody's got to move up. Yeah. Which is tough. That's tough for those teams that lose. You mean this team without playing moves up?
Especially if they're in your division, a la Washington over Utah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I put myself at risk by playing in the championship game.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Yeah. I wonder if that will impact some of the championship game thoughts.
Well, and I think maybe they're not necessarily out with a loss in the championship game. I think maybe it depends on the margin up, whether it's a bad loss, as we've discussed in other situations.
Okay, so thought here, what about, these are the 12 teams that are in. Seeding may change based on results of the championship, but these are the teams that are in.
Going into championship weekend?
Because you got to remember, the top 4 buys are top 4 ranked conference champions. So to get a bye, you have to win your conference championship, which means if Purdue were to beat Michigan, then, Tulane might actually get a bye because they might be one of the top 4 ranked conference champions. Clemson might sneak in with a bye because they're ranked 9th instead of Michigan, who's no longer a conference champion and now has to play in the round 1.
That does get interesting. So these top 4 seeds are all going to be conference champions.
Correct.
That's the stipulation.
Correct.
So
and losing
if Georgia loses to LSU, then Georgia falls out of the top 4, and LSU
is in the playoff.
Is in the playoff as a top 4 seed.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's the highest ranked 4
conference champions.
Correct. So if Michigan, TCU, USC, and Clemson won, Clemson would likely be a bye.
Jeez. And Michigan would be the number 1 seed.
And Michigan would be the 1. Yeah. It's remarkable to think about.
It really is,
because there's so much that goes into it that, all the nuance that has to be thought of. And, you throw a North Carolina beating Clemson or whatever in the conference championship in there, LSU winning at this point. It throws an absolute wrench into this thing.
which is a point for Captain Chaos.
Which is I'm all for. I'm here for it. I mean, please let Purdue beat Michigan. Like, please. Because then everything goes crazy. It's
Right.
haywire at that point. And boy, I still think that the group of 5 teams should get an automatic home game no matter what seed they are.
You want some chaos? Try sending Ohio State to New Orleans.
Well, I mean, to me, it's necessary. I mean, and I know you don't necessarily need to grow the game, but if that's at least some part of this is wanting to, to grow the talent level parity, you've got to give the group of 5 an opportunity.
I think if that's the case, though, then you have to seed the group of 5 champion at number 8.
Yes, I think so too.
I don't think they
or
can
better,
be the
8
12.
or better. But I mean, yeah, if it was Cincinnati like last year, if they were the 4 or whatever, then then yes. But see, if they're a conference champion and they're ranked ahead of all but 2, they automatically get a bye. I mean, if they're ranked number 10 and then, you see some of these teams lose, they could jump into the top 4 because they have to.
Right.
That's what's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Is they have to jump into the, you have to go with the top ranks. Now, manipulation of the polls, once again, could come into play.
Yep.
But boy, I would love to see Clemson go down to Tulane or, something like that. That'd be fantastic.
Sure.
It'd be great for football. Imagine, which I know, does Tulane has an on-campus stadium now?
I believe so.
Yeah, they don't play in the Superdome, but they could.
No.
I mean, you could play it in the Superdome and probably fill it up. Now, half of it would be Clemson fans, but if not more. But it'd be cool to watch. But yeah, that's what a 12-team playoff would look like. The Rose Bowl has apparently given their blessing to start early, which means absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's awfully. We appreciate the Rose Bowl's cooperation.
But they also did say that they had to be on New Year's Day, no matter what, no matter when you play our games, it has to be New Year's Day. So I guess they're going to be a semifinal every year.
That's fine.
So
I mean, I don't know how they get to dictate all this, but okay. Yeah,
well,
whatever.
To me, in my opinion, and I guess it has something to do with the Pac-12, Big 12 contracts that are involved.
Mm-hmm.
But if the date is more important than the game, then you don't get to be a part of the New Year's Six. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If the date is so important to you, then you just get to pick, number 16 and number 18 out of the Pac-12 and Big 10 and be done with it.
Yeah.
To me, that's the way it sounds like it ought to go, but apparently it doesn't. So,
which again comes back to, I don't know how the Rose Bowl gets to dictate so much of this. The Rose Bowl and Notre Dame both are
false sense of self-worth. They ought to just
it's not
out there.
It's not false, because apparently people are
they have it
adhering to it.
The good thing is it doesn't have to be Big 10, Pac-12, and now with the animosity between the two conferences, I think that probably helped the situation, if I had to guess. So now we're sitting in the position where, the Rose Bowl is saying, okay, fine, we'll take a semifinal every year. Well, crap, I'd take that too. That's your compromise?
Yeah.
We get to have,
one of the last 3 games of the year. We get
every year?
Yeah.
Okay. We're always going to be involved in this. Okay.
And that's your consolation. You know. Well,
Darn.
fine. I guess we'll take a semifinal.
Sure. And that almost, exclusively makes your game the night, the East Coast nightcap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to be the second game.
Almost every time, because you're not going to play it at noon for a 2:30. If it's a 2:30 kick Eastern time, you're not going to play it at 11:30 Pacific.
Right.
Not with the tournament the Tournament of Roses parade. So
yeah, you've locked into a lot of things there.
And they normally kick off that game at 5 because of the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Which means the other semifinal could be an 11:30 kick. Broadcast exclusively by Jefferson Pilot Sports and the Daves. The Daves coming at you with the semifinals from New Orleans.
It's a little bit of an upgrade from Breakfast with the Commodores, that's for sure.
Well, give me the playoff ASAP. Mm-hmm. I'll take it. We got this year and one more of a 14 playoff, and then we get 12, and let's go. Let's ride.
Let's go. Well,
as Russell Wilson would say. Man. We got college football picks coming your way in just a minute. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Oh, welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. It's time to pick some college games, Mo, and we start with tonight. Our friends in Conference USA.
Now, before we pick college games, do you want to recap from last week? Or
yes, let's recap.
Okay.
Actually, I don't want to, but
no, you probably don't. You probably don't. Well, you don't mind so much because of our 10 games, you were 5-5.
That's 2 weeks in a row. I was the top man with 5-5 record.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
But we all lost Ole Miss -2 in the Egg Bowl. So you were 5-5, 5-6, depending on whether we're counting the Egg Bowl. What's crazy is, so Alabama was a 21.5 favorite over Auburn. Alabama won 49-27. That's 22 points.
22. Golly.
So you won basically on the hook, which both Justin and I took Auburn and got beat. And there was another similar game where you won by virtue of the hook so did I actually. Michigan State and Penn State. Well, that was 35-16, so that's 19. So never mind. I can't count. Disregard that.
It's all good.
Yeah. But no, you were 5-5. Both Justin and I were 4-6. And like I said, all three of us lost the Egg Bowl.
So we don't count it.
No, so we don't count it. Yeah. So
if we all had won it, we would have definitely counted it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Hall of Champions games.
Exactly. They only count on your record if you win.
If you win them. Yeah.
That's how it works. Yeah. Tonight at 6:30 on CBS Sports Network, you've got Conference USA's North Texas, 7-5 on the year, taking on Texas San Antonio, 10-2 on the year. Texas San Antonio, the beat Roadrunners, are 8.5-point favorites, Mo.
Where are they playing?
It is, I believe it's at UTSA.
Oh, well, let me have UTSA then.
Yeah, it's in the Alamo Dome.
Okay. Yeah. Let me have the meeps.
The meep.
Yeah. Give me that.
Give me the Roadrunners as well. 76% of the country on the Roadrunners.
Okay. All right.
Tonight, 7:00 kick on Fox. The Utes. Sorry? Utes. The Utah Utes, number 11, 9-3 on the year, taking on the 11-1 Southern California Trojans. The Trojans, 2.5-point favorites. Is this one at Levi's or whatever? Or did they finally get smart and go back to home fields? Nope, it's at Allegiant in Las Vegas.
That's what I thought. I thought it was in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay, that might actually work. They might actually have somebody show up tonight.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the maroon and gold in this one. They got a lot to play for.
They do have a lot to play for. So do the Utes. I'm going with the Utes. They beat them by 1 at home. But yeah, I'm going Utah here.
I think USC is playing better ball now than they were the first time they played. So we'll see how it goes. All right, what you got?
We'll see. 11:00 tomorrow. ABC. Number 10, Kansas State. Number 3, TCU. Kansas State 2.5-point dogs to the Horned Frogs. This one will be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
Man, I want to take K-State so bad, but again, TCU has that horseshoe firmly lodged somewhere. I'm going Frogs.
Well, it took a lot for which the game was at Kansas State the first time. But Adrian Martinez is going to play this time. He's going to play the whole game. So I'm going K-State. Give me the Wildcats.
I kind of hope you're right.
Just for the chaos that will
ensue. Yes.
11 a.m. ESPN. Toledo, Ohio, in the MAC championship. This one.
Does that make this the Mac Daddy?
It does. The Mac Daddy of them all. No more granddaddies. This one is in Detroit. Be at Ford Field. The 9-3 Bobcats, the 7-5 Rockets, but the Rockets 3.5-point favorites.
I can see that, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a home field advantage for the Rockets. I'm taking the blue and gold Rockets.
I like how both of these teams from Ohio have to go to Michigan.
To Michigan to play?
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but the thing is, Toledo is probably closer to Detroit than they are to any place that they would be inclined to play a championship game in Ohio. So,
according to ESPN Analytics, the FPI, Toledo a 54.5% chance of winning. But man, Curtis Rourke, 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, just 4 picks for Ohio. Oof. That's tough.
Now, is Ford Field enclosed?
It is.
Okay. So that won't be an issue for Mr. Rourke.
Yeah.
Or for Tattoo.
I'm going to go Toledo here, but I don't want to.
The plan, boss. The plan.
Oh, man, it's tough. 2:30 on ESPN. This is the one I'm most looking forward to tomorrow, if I had to be honest. Coastal Carolina and Troy. Sun Belt Championship. Troy, 6.5-point favorites.
Where are they playing?
The Sun Belt Championship is not held where it should be held.
Okay, where is it held?
This will be at Troy.
Oh, and where should it be held?
It should be at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery. That's where they should hold it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would like to go, you can get a ticket to Veterans Memorial Stadium, formerly known as Movie Gallery Stadium, for $14.
Wow. $14 for a conference championship game, huh?
Yeah, well, and on a home field. That's unusual. Like if it was a neutral site, I could certainly see it. But I don't know, Jamie Chadwell.
We have talked about coaches and coaching changes and coaching searches, and I've told you sometimes you got to go, because if you don't, and I think Jamie Chadwell is really close to the if you don't portion of this.
Had Troy beaten App State on the road September 17th after they had just beaten Texas A&M, it was 32-28. Remember that one? It was last play of the game. Appalachian State wins. Troy would be 11-1, and their only loss would be a season opener, 18 points at Ole Miss. I think they'd be pushing for a top 25 spot.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, they did, and they're not.
Right.
So, but they are a 6.5-point favorite, and I think I'm going to go with Coastal here, even if it's on the road.
You kind of talked me into taking Troy because I was leaning Coastal, but
well, it's Grayson McCall. That's the only reason.
Hasn't he been hurt though?
That's a good question. I don't know I assume he's going to play, but that's a good question. The last time he played was 11-3, so no, he's out. Okay. Never mind. Give me Troy. Grayson McCall's not on the field. Give me Troy. Glad you mentioned that.
Sunbelt Player of the Year, Grayson McCall, missed the final 2 games of the regular season due to a foot injury. Unclear if he will suit up against Troy. So,
unclear means probably not, in my opinion. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Troy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oof. SEC Championship, 16.5 points. LSU Dogs.
LSU at Georgia?
At Georgia. That's correct.
16.5?
16.5.
Give me Georgia. Is that a pause for dramatic effect or what?
I'm looking. I'm going to go LSU.
Okay.
Georgia really hasn't dominated a whole lot of teams lately.
They haven't. And, their 16-6 win over Kentucky in Lexington was particularly
underwhelming.
Yeah, that's a perfect word for it. Thank you.
So,
that's exactly the word I needed.
I'm glad I could finally come up with a word that I wanted to use today.
That's fitting. That's exactly what it was underwhelming. And 37-14 over Georgia Tech wasn't a whole lot more whelming. So, I mean, I see where you're coming from. But
if Jaden Daniels is still in a boot on Saturday.
Yeah, I just feel like they kind of hit their second wind right here. I think you're going to see a little bit more Brock Bowers than you have in the last little bit. And as some folks refer to him on Twitter, I think Steph Quavius is going to ball out
with his fade,
with his crispy, his crispy hairline, his crispy hairline and his fade,
I think what Scott said earlier about Georgia just not trying to be very explosive offensively I think that's what you're going to see here. I think it's going to be Georgia just grinding it out and winning the game. Not necessarily even trying to, throw up style points. They don't have to.
No, they don't need style points at this point.
So, and I think LSU is going to throw everything they can at them. So I'm going to go with the Tigers here.
Okay.
AAC championship on ABC, 3:00 kick. Tulane, number 18 Green Wave against UCF and the Fighting Gus Malzahns. This one will be at Ullman Stadium
in Houston.
Yep.
Oh wow!
So,
goodness gracious!
And you can get tickets for as low as $9.
Teams from New Orleans or Orlando playing a championship game in Houston. Check out that geography. Who's your favorite?
It's going to be Tulane, favored by 2.5 points.
2.5 points. I got a feeling, and I got nothing to base it on, but I think the Fighting Gus Malzahns take this one outright. I'm going UCF.
Well, the feeling is probably because 3 weeks ago they went to Tulane and won.
Maybe that's it.
And I picked them to win that game outright at that point. I picked them to win this game outright. Okay. I think Central Florida wins the game.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, there we go. All right.
It's hard to beat a good team twice, though. So,
that's what they say.
Fresno State, Boise State in the Mountain West Championship. Fresno, 4.5-point dogs in this one. It's going to be on Fox at 3:00 at Albertsons Stadium.
You said 4.5?
Yes, 4.5 for
Fresno.
Plus 4.5 or plus 4.5. Boise is the favorite.
Boise is the favorite. Okay. I'm taking Boise to cover at home.
At home. Albert. They're actually going to play in the parking lot of the grocery store.
They never miss an opportunity to show that blue field, do they?
Never. Big Ten championship, Purdue, 16.5.
So are you taking Boise as well?
Yes.
Okay.
7:00, Fox, Purdue, Michigan. Purdue 16.5-point dogs as well here. This one will be in Indianapolis, so backyard for Purdue. Don't think that's going to matter. I'm going to take Purdue to cover, though.
You're going to take Purdue to cover?
I am. I just think it's one of those weird games. Purdue has nothing to lose.
Purdue has nothing to lose, but Michigan just blew the doors off of Ohio State. Now, I think I might have just talked myself out of taking Michigan.
I was about to say, hold on now. Think about that.
Yeah, and I have begun to do so. And after further review, I'm going Boilers.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of room for a letdown here that doesn't necessarily allow Purdue to win the game, but does allow the Boilermakers to keep it close. And
Charlie
16 and a half.
Jones. Charlie Jones is going to come out swinging. Best receiver in the country.
16 and a half is a lot of points, man.
Yep.
I mean, the only other game that we're talking about that has that wide a margin predicted is the SEC championship. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Purdue.
All right, and finally, Clemson, North Carolina, 7.5-point dogs are the Tar Heels.
So Clemson is a 7.5-point favorite. I really want to take Carolina, but I feel like whenever I've picked against Clemson, I've paid for it. So I'm going to go with Dabo and the Tigers.
I'm going
begrudgingly.
I'm going with future Alabama quarterback Drake May.
Stranger things have happened for sure.
Well, he was committed to Alabama before he switched and went to North Carolina as a legacy recruit there. I'd just love to see it, really. I'd love to see Clemson out of a New Year's Six bowl. That'd be great.
Sure. Same here.
All right, we got 2.5 minutes. We got to get to this right now. Brady McAtamney has confirmed reports that Austin Peay is looking to make a move to the FBS level. Statement expected today.
Okay.
Austin Peay to the Coosa, baby.
Wow. All right. Come on.
Now we're talking.
Come on.
A-Son has got to be going, what the?
Wow. We thought we had all this figured out. Yeah.
We had a whole football league, and now we got no football league.
Man, goodness gracious. Talk about your Friday news dump.
Golly. Man, how insane is this?
Pretty dang.
But how great is it as well? I mean, it's exactly what you want because, you're talking about MTSU, Austin Peay, Western Kentucky, all right here. All of a sudden, that MAC move doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it certainly takes some sting off the New Mexico State travel that you got to take every other year.
Right. One other, not nearly the buzz creator that what you just unearthed was, but Brett McMurphy is reporting that Missouri did not want to play Kansas in the Liberty Bowl, so apparently they're not.
How do you just say no? I guess it's an invitation. You don't have to. You don't have to accept any invitation.
No, I wonder if this means that they're not going to a bowl at all, or if they're going to try to find them another bowl, or what will happen with that. But
without enough 6-win teams, the Frisco Football Classic will not be played either, which was added last year because they had too many 6-win teams. Man, what a day.
A 6-6 team dictating they don't want to play in a bowl. What a world.
Especially when you're Missouri.
Yeah.
Man, the Liberty Bowl was getting ready for a good one.
The border battle the border war goes on the road. Yeah. I mean,
and
they would have solved that thing out in minutes.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Missouri will end up in Birmingham or something.
So I guess Missouri doesn't like making money.
Clearly not.
Some people have been asked.
Clearly not. Well, that's going to do it for the show, man. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back on Monday at 2:00. I'm Chris Yao. Mo?
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.